Well, I love that where love lives. It's fun to work someplace where love lives. This is KLVZ, and I'm Angie Austin with the good news. The number to call in if you'd like to talk is 303 477 2473. Again, 303 477 2473. And today we're talking to Mike Esparza, who's been in the radio business, a radio host for 25 years, 18 of those years in San Diego. In fact, he was on the radio when I was anchoring down in San Diego because I've been doing this a long time myself. And this is on a Christian station, but I want this to be a show for everyone. It's going to, I want to have a lot of stories of hope and healing and inspiration tomorrow. In fact, I'm going to have a guest who climbed Mount Everest, and he did it recently. And he climbed it, Mike. He was attempting to climb it on a day when several people died. It was in the news recently. I'm sure you heard. And he helped out that day, and then he was able to scale the mountain later. But he gave up his attempt that day. So he'll join me tomorrow. But I did want to tell you, and I'm sure you run into this in your business, Mike. I got a Facebook a comment from a woman, Kelly. She said, I tuned in today to check it out. You did a great job. However, I'm not into listening to Christian talk radio, but very glad you're back into action. Good for you. And I'm writing back, I said, thanks, Kelly. I'm trying to make the show diverse. We won't only be, I don't want to beat people over the head with the Bible. I just want to tell people about hope. And the reason I want to do this, as you know, is because I got through so much as a child, and I lost a lot of my family to drugs and murder and homelessness. And I think that the fact that I ended up working for NBC News in Los Angeles while my little brother was outside panhandling my colleagues as I came out, and in Men's Central Jail and in Los Angeles, and that another one of my brothers was murdered, and they also fell into that drugs, as we just spoke about in your situation. And a lot of people don't get out of that. And you said that you would have been dead if it weren't for your faith. And two of my brothers may be dead. I mean, I don't know where one of them is, and the other, is gone he was stabbed to death. And I just want people to hear stories of hope and inspiration. Yours just so happens to be a story of hope and inspiration involving your faith and that you were saved. And I love your story, and I'm so glad that I had you come on. And I want people listening to know that sometimes we'll be talking a lot about faith, and sometimes we'll just be talking about other things, but that's part of my show because I am a Christian, and I believe that's the reason that I got out of low-income housing, foster care, an abusive aunt, an alcoholic father, a mother who was abused for 20 years, brothers who were drug addicts who abused me. I mean, I can go on. And those things can destroy people. And for some reason, for some odd reason, I was able to work 7 days a week through high school and college and get out of that. And it's so far behind me. And I want to offer people the same hope. And so we'll have all kinds of stories of hope. And I'm just thrilled that you were able to, share yours with us today, Mike, because you're so successful in the business. And the fact that you were using so heavily and that you almost lost your life and then came back from the dead almost is an inspiration.
Yeah, and, like I said before, I know that if I can do it, anybody that's struggling with it can do it. I don't think of myself as having, a strong enough will to stand up and do things like that on my own. In fact, I know I don't. It's just not a part of me. But with God, I was able to do it. It's just as simple as that. And like I said before, my story and my testimony, it's mine. All I can tell you is that I did not have the power to do that on my own, and that with God I had the power to do it. And that's miraculous. And it isn't me.
Mm-hmm. I want to take a call from Jason in just a second, but my producer, Jen, is looking at your picture. And have you ever prayed for your hair to come back? Just teasing you, buddy.
Let me tell you, that dome is as beautiful and shiny as it can ever be.
I've got
right now it's got a lot of fuzz because I haven't shaved my head for a few days. But yeah, I definitely do have to keep that dome nice and smooth.
Well, we're going to go to Jason in just a minute, so hang on, Jason. But I did want to ask you one quick question. I'm going to ask you in a minute where you're planning for your career to go next, because I know a lot of people are listening that are your fans. But then, when you were you ever a person of faith before all this went down? Before you were a drug addict and meth? You're talking about serious drugs, meth and cocaine and alcohol mixed. Mm-hmm. Were you a man of faith before that?
You know, it's so weird, and it's so complex. I think that I was, but I wasn't living it. You know, I mean, I wasn't living the life of somebody that claimed to be a believer. You know, I mean, I
I
would pray
gotcha.
every night, but my prayers were just sort of like a routine. It was just like recital. It wasn't. I wasn't talking to my dad.
Mm-hmm.
I was just reciting something, and then the next day, I'd be doing work in strip clubs, and I'd be,
Which is not
I'd
where
be
you're going to
high.
find your pastor. I just want to go on the record. That's not where you're going to find your pastor.
No, it is not where you're going to find your pastor. It's not where you're going to find your pastor, and it's not. It just wasn't healthy for me. It
Yeah.
wasn't healthy in any way, shape, or form. And I lived that way for years, years. And it took a toll. It took a toll on my head. It took a toll on my body. It took a toll in every single way. It took a toll on my dignity. Just living the life that I was living. I was morally bankrupt.
Isn't it amazing that the changes, if you step back and look at your life the way it was then and the way it is now? I'm going to go ahead and take a call from someone I think would like to make a comment to you, Mike. I think your story impacted him. Jason is on the line from Lakewood. Jason, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Hi, Jason. Thanks for calling
Hi.
in. How are you?
Hey, Jason.
I'm doing okay. How are you?
Good. What do you have
Good.
going on?
Well, back when I was in elementary school, I was sexually assaulted by a stranger in the bathroom, and it's kind of hard to talk about it, but I've been thinking about it, as I got older, occasionally, but the past few years, I've been thinking about it, every single day. And, I just see his face as clear as day, and he's mocking me, and he's teasing me and stuff. In 2003, I fell through a deep, deep, deep depression where I thought, if I was going to, kill myself, every time I had that thought, I would just become more and more interested in finding out. And, so it took me, to go into the psychiatric ward to finally realize, that I needed help and stuff. And I prayed to God that, he would get me through this, and he has.
How are you doing now?
What's that?
How are you doing now?
I'm doing okay. I'm still, struggling with this, And I think I told your producer that, I am a cutter, and I still do it, and, it's something that I've always struggled with.
Jason, can you hear me?
And it's hard to overcome it, but, for the past few months, I haven't done it.
Jason, Mike wants to speak with you. Go ahead, Mike.
Hey, Jason, can you hear me?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, what you're saying really kind of applies itself to that analogy that I gave a little while ago on the air about being in some sort of an accident over asphalt where all these little bits that hurt really bad get you scraped up, and then the skin kind of heals itself over that, but it still hurts.
Right.
Because it hasn't been cleaned out. And I couldn't stress more to people that they can get help. I've got a therapist that's amazing, and there's a lot of great therapists in Denver, and there's a lot of great therapists in San Diego. You get in with somebody and you start talking about those things, and you work on it over a period of time, you really can resolve a lot of those issues.
And Jason, don't hang up when we're done speaking, because I want you to stay on the line, because we'll be able to help you get in touch with people. So just make sure you stay on the line when we're done talking. Okay, go ahead,
Okay.
Mike. I just don't want to lose him.
Yeah, no, that's exactly, that's all I wanted to tell him. But I know that, there's definitely help, and he can definitely get past that stuff. And the cutting, that's a serious thing, and it sounds like it. The cutting usually is indicative of people trying to regain control and be able to have control. And so, those issues can be resolved through working with a qualified therapist, a marriage and family counseling therapist.
And I'd like to say, too, Jason, first of all, you said it was very difficult for you to admit that you were sexually assaulted. Mike, you mentioned that that's something that is so hidden for people, and often hiding that can exacerbate the problem and make things a lot worse. Admitting it and healing from this, I want to say I'm so proud of you for not cutting the last few months. You said you haven't been. That's a huge success. And so, again, I do want you to stay on the line, because that's something that we're doing with this show, is not just offering people hope and inspiration, but also, to point you in the right direction to get help. We may not solve your problem when you call in, but we certainly will not set you in the wrong direction. And having Mike join me today was such a thrill, because, I did I did TV for so long, and to have Mike, who's been doing radio for so long, to be able to join me on the second day of his show to offer the hope and inspiration to people and healing. I'm just thrilled that you could come on, Mike. And we've got another, minute or two. Do you want to tell, people, especially the fans, 21,000 Facebook fans, where you're going next?
Well, I'm right now. I'm just exploring a lot of opportunities. I don't know what's going to be next. It's a scary position to be in, but I know that I have a lot of listeners in the San Diego area that would support me, when I come back, and so I'm really hoping for that. And it's really up to God. Wherever He wants me next is where I'm going to be, and I'm excited. All I know is that if He wants it, it's good.
Well, I'm telling you something, Mike. You couldn't have told me a few months ago, when I was still planning to work in the news business and had no idea that I wouldn't be doing that anymore, that if you would have said to me, "Oh, you're going to have your own show on Christian radio, and it's going to be called The Good News with Angie Austin, and it'll be on the afternoons, and it'll be just you, and you'll be producing the show, you'll be booking guests, calling people, and putting on any positive story you want to put on," I never would have believed it. Mike, I'd love to have you on again. Thank you so much for coming on. The Good News with Angie Austin. I hope that somebody out there was healed and inspired, and I hope we gave you some hope, and I hope to talk to you tomorrow.